Who are you when no one's watching? And how much of your personality is actually yours versus what you think other people expect from you? In this week's chapter of The Artist's Way, we're talking all about identity, and we're going to dive into what it actually means to give yourself permission to be your full self, not just the parts that feel safe or acceptable to others. If you're new here, my name is JC, and I am documenting a 12-week journey through The Artist's Way, a creative recovery program designed to help you discover or reconnect back to your creativity to help you live the life that you want. In last week's video, we talked a lot about creating safety and setting the foundation for our creativity, and this week is all about recovering a sense of identity. When I first read that, I was like, I already know who I am. I've done a lot of self-work, but I actually came to realize after reading the chapter that there's a big difference between intellectually knowing who you are as a person and then actually living as your authentic self from day to day. This week, a lot of the exercises are designed to understand where you're playing small, what parts of yourself are you learning to suppress or hide, and seeing what happens when you start taking yourself seriously and giving those other parts of you permission to exist in the world. In this week's reading, one of the quotes that stood out to me was, "The essential element in nurturing our creativity lies in nurturing ourselves." In a society that has become obsessed with wellness, I think that we've forgotten about creativity as one of the fundamental parts of our well-being. And in my journey to start to recover this sense of creativity and this creative part that lives inside of me, I feel like I've just applied all of my perfectionistic tendencies and obsessions to this part where it becomes a thing that you have to get right. And I feel like I have struggled so much over the past couple months with this fixation on performance and how my creativity is perceived by the world, especially since I create content, create videos that I share online, basing how good an idea is based off how many views it gets or how many likes it gets changes how you view creativity because you're so focused on the output that it starts affecting the input. In the beginning, my creativity was so pure and the things that I was creating online were just purely for me and purely to create things that I wanted to see exist in the world. And then after it started to gain a lot of traction and there was engagement, which was amazing, but also took away some of the sacredness of my creativity. And that part of me that is worrying about the output rather than the input is the one that I want to explore this week and the one that I kind of want to reclaim as my own. I'm noticing that I'm starting to become a bit paralyzed before creating a video because I'm so worried about the output that I forget to enjoy the process. And I forget that the process is the whole point of creation in general. A line from this week that resonated with me so much was when she said, "You will learn that it is actually easier to write than not write, to paint than not paint. You will learn to enjoy the process of being a creative channel and to surrender your need to control the result. The process, not the product, will become your focus." So that is my goal for this week, for the process to become my focus and to just get back to that joy of following a curiosity, the satisfaction of bringing an idea from your head out into the world, and just let that be enough for me this week. I am just starting the creative challenges for the week. I got a brand new journal, which is always the best feeling ever. Overall, I've just been feeling more free to express my creativity and more experimental with my ideas rather than having such a fixed mindset of how it should turn out. So I'm feeling excited. I feel like it's been helping me to prioritize my creativity and make room for it in my schedule and make room for artist dates, and just has given me a sense of freedom that I was looking for. Part of the last week that we talked about was taking yourself seriously, and I think that taking yourself seriously can really start to make major shifts in your life in other areas too. All of the creative challenges for this week are designed to help you realize where you're living in accordance with external expectations rather than in alignment with your actual true self. The first one had me track where my time goes versus how I actually want to be spending my time. And it made me think of this old conversation that I had with Ben, which was about $10,000 an hour tasks. A lot of times we do these tasks that feel easy to us and we can get them done and they make us feel productive, but they're not actually moving the needle. feel, instead of doing the things that actually light us up inside, creating or putting ourselves out there or doing something that might be outside of our comfort zone, because those things feel scary and they're not these like easy, quick dopamine hits that we can just get, like getting to inbox zero or going to do a workout, making a meal during the day, cleaning your apartment. All of these tasks that are in theory fine, but they're not getting you to where you want to go. I feel like a lot of the times during my day, I'm spending my time on things that are like editing or answering emails or computer admin tasks, and those just suck up all my energy. And the thing that I actually want to be doing is creating videos and strategizing new ideas, and that feels scary to me because it's something that I don't know if I can complete. I know that I can answer all my emails during the day, or I know that I can finish a workout, or I know that I can make a meal, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to execute the idea that I have in my head, or if my words are going to come out okay. And I feel like I spend so much time avoiding those tasks that I get a lot of stuff done during the day, but it's not actually the stuff that's lighting me up inside. And one thing that is really helping me about filming this project is that it's really forcing me to film pretty much every day so I can practice getting over this block that I have towards filming or executing on ideas and show myself that I actually can do them and that it's not scary to do. Another exercise I did this week was 20 things that I love doing and then putting the date next to it of when was the last time I did those activities. I think what it really shows you is so much of the time we think that these huge, big things are going to bring us happiness, things like promotions and vacations. There's actually really small things that we can be doing on a daily or weekly basis that bring us a lot of joy, but we put them off because we think that we need to earn them or that we need to be productive in order to get to those things. When in reality, if we're able to integrate some of those things back into our life, it starts to open up new pathways of our ability to be creative and our ability to show up in the world as our full self. I think when you start to integrate the things that light you up inside back into your life, you will start to care less about this sense of external validation from the outside world, whether it's from work or your relationships or from views on a video and metrics, these things that you're getting your worth from. Because if you're living a life that is truly aligned with what lights you up inside and your personal values, you'll start to really create this foundation of identity that feels unshakable rather than this thing that's controlled by outside force. Some things on my list were baking, playing video games, riding a bike, doing little arts and crafts, and I feel lucky that I've designed my life around these things. So I actually get to do these things a lot, but sometimes I feel like because of the nature of my job, I spend a lot of time talking about these things and not actually a lot of time doing these things for just pure enjoyment. So my challenge for this week is to do some of my favorite hobbies just for me without needing to film them and without needing to put them anywhere, so that I can start to reclaim that sense of joy and sacredness for myself. Okay, for this week's artist date, we were doing something that I have been wanting to do for a long time, which is to make some watercolor bookmarks and just practice creating something really for no reason at all. So how I'm going to do this is just take some watercolor paper and then cut it up into bookmark size and use my cute little watercolor kit that I have here. And then I probably will write little affirmations on it once they're dry. Okay, I'm just finished making my bookmarks. I made this one that says everything happens exactly as it should. This one says everything is possible. And this one says what I share matters and makes impact. I was really obviously loving the oranges and yellows today, which is always interesting to see what colors I'm drawn to. This was so fun. It was fun to make a big mess and to just get lost in the flow state of creating and follow whatever you're really drawn to. I love these artist dates because I feel like it's again that theme of taking your curiosity seriously and taking yourself seriously and practicing this act of doing things without an output or doing things for no productive reason. And being able to let yourself freely create in this way might seem like it's not really doing much, and I think it's actually doing everything because you're practicing how you can just allow yourself to turn on these creative muscles in your brain and make time for them throughout the week, even when it feels like there's other things that you should be doing or have work to do. It seems silly to, sit down and do a little arts and crafts project for 30 minutes or an hour. But I think even if you spend 10, 20 minutes doing this throughout your week, you'll start to see how it changes the way that you're viewing everything. The last exercise I did was creating your life pie, and she says to separate it into 6 categories: work, play, romance, adventure, well-being, and spirituality, which I thought that was interesting that those are her 6 most important categories. Honestly, I felt like I was being kind of neutral towards a lot of the things. I would say work is where I feel most fulfilled because I just love what I've created with my personal brand and my business, and I feel like it's such a dream. The job that I get to do every day is creating content and doing the things that I love. Where I am not super fulfilled is in the adventure and spirituality category, which the adventure part makes sense because I'm such a homebody, and I feel like Ben and I just moved into a new apartment in the beginning of June, and we've just been kind of nesting, but I have a lot of trips planned this week and then for the end of August, so I know that that will start to pick up, and also with my sense of play because I'm going to visit 2 of my best friends and we just have like the silliest, most playful time, so I'm excited to boost those 2 categories. And then with spirituality, I feel like I ranked it low just because I have kind of been off my meditation practice and I really miss it. I feel like I kind of substituted doing morning pages in the morning rather than meditation. It feels like too much to me to sit down for 20 minutes and do morning pages and then sit down for another like 10 or 15 minutes and meditate because I get antsy and I just want to get my day started. So I think probably finding another time during the day, maybe in the afternoon, to meditate would feel really good and give me a nice reset period in the middle of the day. I'm going to explore that a little bit more, but I really love having these exercises. It's so interesting to have new prompts to noodle on and to think about your life in different ways and view it from different perspectives. And I'm really trying to approach it with a curious, open, non-judgmental mindset. I feel like when you're curious, it is when you're most primed to make actual changes in your life. So that's all for now. I'll see you guys in a bit. If you're doing this with me, you might notice that there's parts of you that feel like they need to be productive and that they need to get all their work done before they're allowed to play, or that they're not allowed to play or express at all because they don't have time and they have other responsibilities. And the exercises in this chapter might help you to explore why it is that you feel that way, and if there is some way to find nuance in the middle of those 2 parts of you, rather than just viewing it as such a black and white either or experience. I feel like a lot of this week has really been about giving those parts of me more permission to exist. I really love this therapy called Internal Family Systems, which basically is about understanding that we have these different parts of ourselves that all have different needs and different desires and different wants, and none of them are bad. All of them were designed by us to protect us, to get us to where we want to go, and they all have our best interest in mind, but they show up in maybe not so helpful ways sometimes. And this chapter really reminded me of IFS because when these parts are in contrast from each other, I think it causes a lot of discomfort. And even in terms of creativity, just understanding that some parts of you really want stability and security, and some parts of you really want freedom and creative expression, and those parts might feel in conflict with each other. The goal here isn't to just eliminate or get rid of the parts that feel in contrast, but really explore them and to understand them and to find ways for them to peacefully coexist. I also feel that sense of discomfort when parts of me are in contrast because it feels incoherent with this vision of myself that I have in my mind. But I'm beginning to question, what if I didn't have to choose one way or the other? What if it's not about changing one part of me? What if it's not about forming into this perfect idealistic version of myself, but really expanding my perception of who I'm allowed to be and how I can show up in the world as my fullest, most authentic self? A line that I read this week that I cannot stop thinking about from Julia Cameron says, to think of your mind as a room where you keep all of your comfortable, safe ideas about what's possible and what's not possible. And the room has a door, and the door is slightly left open. And if you look outside, there's like this dazzling bright light where all of these bigger possibilities and dreams live. Ideas that you think are too far out for someone like you or would never be possible for someone like you. The comfortable, safe ideas stay in the room with you, and the exciting, scary ideas are the ones that stay outside of the room, past the door, because you've decided that they're not for someone like you. And she says part of this creative recovery is to gently set that belief aside that those big ambitious dreams are not for you, nudge the door a little bit more open, considering that these possibilities might be for you and might be something that could be possible in your lifetime. One of the prompts this week that goes along with this theme is to list out 10 changes that you want to make in your life. They can be so tiny, and they can also be really big, audacious things that you want. The whole point of this exercise is to really just start taking yourself seriously and start small. Don't start with the big, crazy things of quitting your job. I mean, if you want to do that, go for it. But start with the tiny things. Start with, oh, I want to add something new to my desk. I want to clean up the closet that's been bothering me. I want to start going for a walk in the mornings. Things that you can actually achieve, and showing yourself that you will take yourself seriously when you have these desires or things that you want to change. And see how that starts to shift your mindset about the bigger realm of possibility of what is allowed for you. What I really got out of this week was that this whole identity piece is not about becoming someone completely new, changing your whole entire life. It's really about just letting more parts of yourself exist and letting yourself feel more integrated, more whole, and that you're allowed to take yourself seriously, and that these dreams, these desires, these changes that you want to make in your life aren't crazy, and that they aren't unrealistic or illogical, and that once you start to take the small things seriously and really let yourself follow those curiosities and those little inklings in your head that you might have otherwise pushed aside because they're not practical, you'll really start to see your mindset expand what is possible for you. A part of this week that gave me a lot of comfort was when Julia Cameron said there's a recognizable ebb and flow to creative recovery. Some days you feel connected and inspired and excited, and other days you feel resistance. And that is something that I went into this whole journey struggling with, not allowing the natural ebbs and flows of my creativity. She also says that your artist is like a small child who feels happiest when it's secure, and your creativity is flourishing the most when you have safety and self-acceptance. So as you begin to support yourself, you will be led to new sources of support. And when you start to take your creative life seriously, opportunities and connections will start to appear that weren't there before. But the first step is deciding that you are worthy of that support. The more that I do this and the more that I prioritize this creative recovery, the more I'm seeing how creativity and authenticity are connected. Because when you give yourself this permission to be curious and to play and to write and to follow your creative impulses without justifying it, you start to show up differently in every single area of your life. And you realize that creativity is all around you. Next week is week 3, which is recovering a sense of power. And we're going to explore how emotions like anger and jealousy can actually be creative fuel, and how to actually reclaim your personal power in service of your creativity. Make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss the next video. And if you're new here, I am so happy to have you along on the journey. I post all about mental health and creative ideas that can meet you where you're at. And I will see you guys in the next video.